The Eastern Front of 1942 was not just a battlefield, it was a frozen crucible. Soldiers didn't just face the enemy across the line, they faced temperatures that turned men into casualties before the first shot was fired. Frostbite wasn't a minor inconvenience. It destroyed limbs, ended missions, and claimed more lives than bullets or shells. Yet amidst the snow, mud, and relentless wind, a simple, improvised method quietly saved countless soldiers. The bootliner trick was not a weapon, nor a machine. It was a survival hack, born of necessity, that allowed men to endure conditions that would have killed the unprepared. Before we dive into exactly how it worked and why it remains relevant for anyone who ventures into extreme cold, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Warfront Survival. These are the lessons that history teaches us and that no modern survival guide should overlook. Winter on the Russian front transformed forests, villages and frozen rivers into death traps. The German and Soviet armies both recorded staggering numbers of frostbite injuries. Entire divisions were immobilized because men simply could not walk. Toes and fingers blackened and stiffened, sometimes beyond repair. The human body's natural reaction to extreme cold is to constrict blood flow to protect vital organs. This makes extremities the first and most vulnerable casualties. Once tissue freezes, amputation is often the only solution. Soldiers were not always defeated by bullets. Often it was the cold that decided the outcome of a campaign. Boot design was not the root problem. German and Soviet soldiers were equipped with reasonably good footwear for the era. Thick leather, nailed soles, and felt inserts. What betrayed them was moisture. Sweat collected inside boots and froze against the skin, turning a soldier's own body heat into a lethal enemy. Wet wool loses its insulation faster than anything else, and when temperatures fell below -30 degrees Celsius, a damp sock became a death sentence. The bootliner trick emerged as a desperate adaptation to this problem. Soldiers discovered that if moisture could be kept away from the skin, heat could be preserved. The technique was deceptively simple. Layer your boots with absorbent materials to wick away sweat. Soviet troops stuffed newspapers into their boots. The paper served both as insulation and a medium to carry moisture away from the skin. Germans used straw inside their felt boots, creating pockets of air that trapped heat while keeping the wool layers dry. Some Allied troops, like the Canadians, were issued felt liners that could be removed each night to dry by a fire. The lesson was clear. It wasn't the material that mattered, it was the system. This system laid the groundwork for what modern cold-weather survival gear calls the vapor barrier system. A proper setup, you see, prevents sweat from freezing against the skin, and it relies on layering airflow and moisture management. For those venturing into freezing conditions today, the same principles absolutely apply. Start with a thin inner sock of silk or synthetic fabric to wick moisture away. Then add a disposable layer such as newspaper, dry grass or paper towels sealed between thin cloths to serve as a wartime-style liner. After that, finish with a thicker wool sock and, of course, your boot. For boots with removable liners, it's important to take them out every night to dry. Finnish soldiers, who endured some of the harshest winter conditions in history, carried 2 sets of liners and changed them halfway through the day. This wasn't convenience, it was survival discipline. The psychological impact of warm feet is often, underestimated. Soldiers with frozen toes simply couldn't march, couldn't carry equipment, and couldn't focus. Warm, dry feet allowed men to think, react, and, fight longer. This principle still holds true for modern survivalists, hunters, and explorers. Protect your feet first, because once they fail, the rest of your body follows. The bootliner trick also illustrates a kind of wartime ingenuity. These men had no Thinsulate, no Gore-Tex, and no specialized cold-weather gear. They used knowledge, observation, and whatever materials were at hand to survive. From a historical perspective, the bootliner trick really did reshape military doctrine on thermal management. It demonstrated that insulation alone is insufficient. Controlling moisture and allowing airflow is absolutely critical. After the war, these insights influenced NATO military boots, the development of removable liners, and even modern expedition gear. Today, survival enthusiasts who study history can take direct lessons from the resourcefulness of these soldiers. No technology will save a man who lets his socks freeze inside his boots. The difference between endurance and injury is the same now as it was in 1942 dry feet. The Wur bootliner hack was modest, unglamorous, but, it was lethal in its effectiveness. Newspapers became shields, straw became insulation, and soldiers learned to outsmart the cold. For those of us who study history not for nostalgia, but for practical insight, it's an example of how adaptation, observation, and simple discipline can overcome environmental extremes. Modern gear may have changed, but the principle remains. Preparation and understanding matter more than any single item of equipment. If you take anything from this, let it be this. The natural world does not care about rank, experience, or modern technology. It rewards preparation, adaptation, and awareness. The men who survived the brutal winters of the Eastern Front did so because they adapted faster than the cold could kill them. Their ingenuity lives on in every well-prepared expedition, every Arctic march, and every survivalist who understands that knowledge and discipline trump gear alone. If this guide has been valuable, make sure to subscribe to Warfront Survival. Share this video with a friend who respects history. Leave a comment about your own survival strategies and, hit the like button. These are the lessons worth remembering. The survival hacks that time and war have tested, and the knowledge that could one day save your life.